There are concerns that the link between crime and development in African countries has not been adequately analysed to allow firm conclusions to be made. In general, population growth, urbanization, industrialization and modernization, as well as poverty, are deemed to be among the major factors influencing crime rates. Here in Nigeria, the police have been keeping record of cases of reported crime, while the National Bureau of Statistics has been tracking the number of unemployed persons. What do their findings reveal? As the question tonight, to share some insights on crime patterns in Nigeria, is Babajide Ogusanwo Channels TV's data and information analyst. Thank you for coming tonight.
Good evening, Amarachi.
Good evening. So, what do their findings reveal? Any evidence of what is influencing the rising cases of reported crime in Nigeria?
I'd like to start from a slightly different perspective. Poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. Aristotle. You talked about the causes. Similar to the three things I would like to discuss tonight. The first is I'd like to talk about the illicit affair between crime and unemployment. And then I'd like to talk about the changing patterns in crime and how it affects you and all Nigerians. And finally, practical solutions. Let's take a look at the evidence we have from the Nigerian police on number of cases of reported crime and from the National Bureau of Statistics about unemployment. And if we focus on what is right in front of us, here's the conclusion. There's a 99% correlation between cases of unemployment and crime. So for instance, in 2008, the Nigerian police says there were 96,000 cases of reported crime. The same year when the NBS says there were 9.1 million unemployed Nigerians. Fast forward a decade after, 2017, we now have 35 million unemployed Nigerians and 136,000 plus cases of reported crime. What does all of this mean? It means that there's a strong correlation between unemployment. Indeed, a 99% correlation between the rising cases of unemployment and the rising cases of crime. Well, here's the conclusion. You cannot end crime only by policing. You need to create more jobs. The government does not create jobs. It's the private sector that creates jobs. And the private sector will not create more jobs without rising demand for goods and services from families. And so one way to solve the problem of crime is to consider arresting people. Well, another perhaps more intelligent way is to ask, how do we get Nigerians to spend more? Because if Nigerians spend more, then there will be more jobs by companies that create jobs, and then crime cases will reduce. So what do I mean? Joblessness needs to be arrested and be the one to be locked behind bars.
Okay, so you have looked at the pattern of crime, which you said is growing with unemployment in the country, but the federal and the state government have agreed on the need for maximum protection of lives and property. They're doing this through community policing. You suggest community policing. So what other countries with large populations like Nigeria, what are they doing apart from community policing?
So why
is that a major solution?
Let's quickly look at why are they doing community policing. And that's because crime rates is not just rising. Crime patterns have changed. In 2008, for instance, based on that data that we have, if we take a look at that, we'll see that 63% of all cases of reported crime came from southern Nigeria, even though crime is still significantly underreported. But here's what you find. In 2008, those 61% of cases of reported crime came from the 17 states in the south. In 2017, 73% of reported crime cases now comes from the south. The insight means two things. The first is we see crime rate has increased, but crime pattern has changed. From 61% of reported crime cases in southern Nigeria in 2008 to the current rate of 73% of crime cases reported in the country. But you know, in the final analysis, we need to look at, yes, it is important, and yes, the government has done a lot of positive things by integrated policing, but what a lot of countries like China and India are doing is intelligence-led policing. In other words, predictive policing. Yeah. In the final words of Thomas Tosser, what a greater crime, time lost.
Food for thought. Babajide, thanks again. Always really interesting having you on the News at 10.
The pleasure is all mine.